Tina Capobianco of JD Factors joins John and I this week, and we are discussing why you need or should possibly consider using a factoring company. Tina's up next.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast.
And Tina, welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners just a little bit about Tina?
Yes, well, thank you, Chris and John. I'm happy to be here with you. My name is Tina Capobianco. I'm Senior Vice President of JD Factors in Canada. I've been with the company since 1992. Really the only career as an adult that I had. And it's one of those, I never planned to be in finance. I never planned to be in factoring. I had no idea what it was. And when I landed the job, it was just so interesting to me how we help businesses that I just became passionate with it, and I grew with the company. Every time I felt stagnant or needed a change, there was changes in JD Factors. I got promoted, and in 2005, I was promoted to manager and eventually just now running all of Canada.
That's awesome. There's not many of us who've only really had one job for our adult life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. If I was to add up all mine, I'd run out of fingers.
It's true. I've had a few jobs for like in the teens of years, but I've never had just one. I think that's admirable. And it's great that the company's recognized you and moved you up the ladder. And now, is it fair to say that you're as high up in Canada as you can get now?
Yes. My next job is retirement. So high up as I go. Yes.
Yeah.
So since I've never owned a trucking company, I don't know much about factoring. Why would somebody who obviously owns a trucking company use a factoring company?
The benefit of factoring, especially in the transportation industry, is that we provide fast cash. A transport company does a load, sends us their bill of lading that's signed because they completed the load, and we fund them in less than 24 hours. So we all know how tight margins are in transport and how demanding cash flow is on transport companies. Most of these companies are paying fuel 3 to 7 days. Payroll is at least twice a month. Trip payments, insurance. So what we do is provide their cash, the capital, fast. And there's no loan to repay. That's really the beauty of factoring. So there's nothing, when you sell us that receivable, there's no loan to repay. And on top of that, JD Factors is really the only true non-recourse factor in Canada, which means we credit guarantee every receivable we purchase. So unless there's some kind of service failure or claim on that load, we buy that invoice, it's ours forever. So when you sell it, that's it. You have the cash, you don't have to worry about it.
And sorry, you said something that kind of certainly caught my attention or shocked me. If I send you a POD and you've accepted it, I'm going to get my money within 24 hours?
Yep, that's exactly right. Yes.
Holy.
And that is true. You get it quickly by wire. And in some cases, it's even sooner than 24 hours. For clients that have a regular stream of customers that we know and we're familiar with, they send us paperwork at 8 this morning. They have that money by 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Wow. Hey, Johnny, do your customers pay you in 24 hours?
I have a couple, but not very many.
Okay, Safety Dawg customers, listen up. Pay me in 24 hours.
That's right.
For most people, it takes a lot longer than 24 hours for any of us to get paid. And as you alluded to, price of fuel today to do a California load, my God, I got no idea what it is. I'm hearing like $3,000 or something to go to California. That might be low today. But that's an out-of-pocket expense. That's on your credit card. And they,
That's right.
as you said, they expect to get paid quick.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So really the factoring, what it does is it helps you manage your cash flow as well. So that load, you take it to California, you sell it to us, say it's $3,000. Now you have that $3,000 to put in your account to pay for the next load. So you're never going into debt, which is really, to me, it's the best feature of factoring. Bank financing is cheaper, always has been, although with interest rates the way they are, we're getting really close. And factoring rates have substantially declined over the years. But the value of having someone to make sure that the loan you took is from a credit-worthy customer, you have the cash up front, and you just find the next load. That's really all you need to do. We take care of all the receivables. We do the collection calls. We give unlimited free credit checks. So even if you're on a load board and you just want to just check out who's good and who's bad, send us those names and we give all that information for free, because the goal is to build a transport business that lasts a long time and has solid customers. This industry has probably the worst rate of fraud of the industries. And January, February of any year is always, we call like sad days, because that's when a lot of the fraud and the bad credit comes out. And carriers, truckers just want to drive. So one of our challenges is trying to explain to them, wait for the right load. Just take everything for the sake of just driving, because if you don't get paid, you're out that money twice. So not only are you not getting paid, but you've already paid your fuel, your time, your truck. So you have to do it smart. And working with JD Factors, what we do is we develop a good book of business with our clients. If they listen to us and our advice, we'll tell them. Or the other thing we have is you find one customer and you just go crazy with loads with them. Not everyone has unlimited credit. So trying to explain, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify, because then the risk is also spread out. We have a lot of experience dealing with these drivers, and it's exciting when they succeed.
And I recently had one customer that did over 80% of their business with one client, and that client went bankrupt.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't have that customer anymore. Because it took him down with him. What I couldn't understand is how they used to pay within 30 days, and then they went to 60 days, and then they were into a 90-day payment schedule. And I'm going, what are you doing? He says, but what am I supposed to do?
There's signs. There's signs. Like signs there.
Yes.
And then really, truck drivers aren't credit managers. So that's why when you use factoring, we give you those credit tools that you don't have. You know how to drive a truck properly, safety, compliance, all of that. We would never know what to do. That's why you leave the credit decisions and the credit advice to a factoring company, a non-recourse factoring company, because a lot of new players in this market are doing full recourse, which means they just buy everything and then charge it back when they don't pay, which it's a bad thing waiting to happen. It's just, so non-recourse for transport is really the way to go.
So if I said non-recourse in different words, correct me, because you're using terminology that not everybody might understand. So if I said it in my words, I give you the invoice, and if you accept it, because you've done the credit check and everything on the shipper, and you accept it, you're not going to, if you don't collect it, you're not going to claw it back from me. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is exactly right, Chris. It will never come back to you if that customer doesn't pay. So I have an example. We had a a transport company in Southern Ontario, did a lot of work for a large produce company in Southern Ontario. And for 2 years, beautiful payments, 35 days, all electronic, no issues. And then in 2022, they started to have some hiccups. They started to slow down. And we would tell our client, okay, so they're slowing down. We need to start putting pressure on getting some payments in. And of course, good price loads, great lanes that he liked, and he just pressured us to buy more, continue to buy more. So we supported him by buying some on recourse. Then the payments got slower and slower. And then we finally said, no more recourse or no recourse. We're not doing this. And so he stopped working for them. We stopped getting paid altogether, radio silence on any communication on their part. And we found out that they weren't paying us because we weren't an active carrier for them. So long story short, we sued them. We have a default judgment. 2 weeks ago, they filed for bankruptcy. So I have now a 6-figure write-off, and my client still has a 5-figure write-off, but it could have been much, much worse for him.
Sure.
If he listened to us, it would have been less for both of us. Hindsight's 2020, so I don't want to say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but
Right.
this situation is a perfect example of how we started to see the writing on the wall, cut off the credit. I think we made the right decision in the end. And when I look at the trustees' papers with all the unsecured credit, there are some trucking companies out there that are out much more than we are.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to survive. That's a huge hit to creating factors, but we're
Yeah.
going to be okay. But a transport company that has whatever, 50 to 100 trucks, can you sustain a 6-figure write-off?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
tough.
That's going to hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt huge. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, when
Wow.
you owned your
Yep.
trucking company, did you use a factoring company?
We had considered it, actually. We had some conversations with some folks. I don't remember the name of the company, but we had considered it. The company that we were talking with wanted all of our receivables. We weren't allowed to pick and choose. And the reason we never moved forward with it was I had a couple of customers that actually paid in 7 days. And they were the ones that were helping us bankroll the rest of it. So I was like, I don't want you having these ones. And they said, no, we get those ones and the ones that don't pay on time. So we decided we got smart. We used our quick payers to help us bankroll the rest of our timelines. But it was something we were definitely looking at. Now, to add to that, my wife had worked for one of our friends who ran a trucking company, and they used factoring for probably about 50% of the workload that they did. And they had great success with it. It really helped them to be able to manage just what you guys have been talking about: fuel, repairs, payroll, all those important items that need to be paid on a regular basis. It really helped them. They were dealing with a lot of customers that were probably well over 30, 45, 60 days. So it made it very challenging for them to continue to operate without quick cash.
Tina, John brought up an interesting question that I now have for you. If I'm one of your clients, do you take all of my invoices or only the ones that I choose to send over to you?
Our factoring programs are very flexible. So you choose who you want to sell to us. If a client tells us they have a customer that pays even 15 or 21 days, we'll tell them you should deal directly with them. Because really, you should be able to support that type of payment along with the factoring. So our factoring, our cash will sustain the cash flow. And so you can choose whatever customers you want to choose, whatever you want to send to us. The only thing that we do ask is that once you've chosen a customer, you keep that customer with us, because we do notify the customer, let them know about our arrangement. The payment does come to us once we've purchased the invoice. So to keep things simple and straightforward and not to have any issues with anybody. That's the only condition. And then even then, when we do buy it, if your cash flow this week or this month doesn't mean you have to factor as much. When we get the payments, we have a live website that you see the payments are deposited the same day, and we turn around and give that money to our clients. The goal is to be fully transparent, completely honest, and show our clients, listen, we want to help your cash flow. I make money when I buy invoices, but I also want a client that stays with me as long as possible. So I'd rather help them succeed that way than just to muddy the waters by demanding them to sell all the receivables or charge extra fees. Because that's also another tactic in factoring that we're seeing more and more.
Okay, so other factoring companies might have extra fees?
Yes.
Oh.
So processing fees, if your invoice goes over a certain amount of days, there's extra fees. If there's, oh my goodness, if you cash checks, there's extra fees. They've been creative. The factoring market's become very competitive from a rate perspective. And needs to make money. So nobody's working for free or at a loss because that makes no sense, right? But at the same time, you know what your business costs. So when you're running a truck, you know what your fuel, your insurance, your maintenance, your driver payroll costs. So you have to price your load based on that small profit so that at the end of the day, you're doing this for something. Factoring is the same thing. We all have our costs. I have a really great, seasoned team of account executive and salespeople that I like to compensate very well so that they remain loyal and they work hard. So fixed costs like that cost money. So I can't just erode the pricing every single time. It's become a tactic in the market, and I've seen it over the years. I've done this for so long that there was a time where we could charge 7-8% flat fee for invoicing. You never see that. I haven't seen that in probably 15 years, but we have to have some kind of consistency in pricing.
And by having consistency in pricing, for me, a client, it helps me do my budgeting. Know what the fees are going to be up front. So and profit, by the way, is not a dirty word.
Oh, no.
That's why
we
I
all
get
need
up
to
in
have
the
it.
morning.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody, think of it. If you don't make a profit, then you're not able to offer your service. And obviously, your service is needed. So if you weren't around, then we'd be in trouble as an industry. So we need everybody, trucking companies included, to make a profit. That's the bottom line. So tell us a little bit about JD Factors. How long has it been around? Is it an American company?
JD Factors in Canada was started in 1989. John Danis, who was a partner in another factoring company in the US, had close ties to Canada. And he bought this little factoring company in Toronto, Cannonsure Factoring, and started what he thought was going to be a great factoring company. His partner in the US thought he was crazy. So started off with 3 employees, hired a salesperson, and we had the support of the US entity to give us guidance, give us cash a lot of times to keep us afloat. So I joined the company in 1992. At that time, we had 4 employees, and it was a really small office. Like, I did everything there. I answered the phone, I got coffee, purchased receivables, posted cash, collection calls, you name it. And I'm sure you've all worked in small business. You just have to do what you have to do. And portfolio grew over the years. Now we're very proud to say we have 4 offices. Calgary, Mississauga, Toronto, Montreal, and we just opened an office in Halifax. And my goal when I took over was really to have representation across the country. And what we found was you need to have a place, like we had to have legal representation. Calgary businesses like to deal with Calgary people.
Yeah.
They have their own way of doing business. Quebec, need I say more? They're just
Mhm.
special in themselves. And Eastern Atlantic Canada, that's no different. Their values, their way of approaching business is very different. So our success has been once we open a physical office in that location, we hire people that are from those cities, and we really do. We take off, we succeed. But I say this is our last office for, and we do have a U.S. counterpart. We long history there. Factoring professionals also run there for over 30 years. We have our corporate offices in California, and we have a large operations office in Chicago, and then salespeople across all of the.
Oh,
What I heard you say was, Chris, you were wrong. JD Factors isn't an American company. It's a Canadian company.
JD Factors Corporation is a Canadian company, and then there's JD Factors LLC that's American. Yeah,
cool.
we're financed in Canada. We are incorporated in Canada, and we operate as a Canadian entity.
Wow.
Yeah. I just assumed that there's got to be a lot of money involved. And so when it comes to big money, quite often we get help from the Americans.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we are financially independent from the US, and we have our own financing up here. But the US has their own financing in the US. So we're both two independent identities, but we really work as a team. We have the same name. When we go to conferences, we represent JD Factors in general. We don't differentiate between corporation and LLC. We're a very close-knit group. The way we run Canada, they run the US. You know, my boss, Steve Johnson, who passed away a couple of years ago, his big thing was you treat your employees right and they will
Yes.
stay with you.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
and he was my biggest role model, and I still think that today.
Cool.
Clients will come and go, but if you treat employees right, they'll do what they have to do for you.
Yeah.
And
I'm good.
you've been there forever. Sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah. I've got questions. In my industry, I've known it factoring for transportation. Very well. Excuse me. Sorry. Geez, that come out of nowhere.
And
What
I'm going to
other
leave
type
it
of-
in.
Yeah. What other types of businesses would use factoring services? I know there'd be all kinds of them, but give us a quick idea. What other types of businesses would?
So after transportation, the next big industry that we have many clients in is staffing. So that is
okay.
security companies, staffing agencies. One of the biggest ones that we did a lot pre-COVID, but much bigger now, is nurse staffing companies. So these agencies provide nurses, PSWs to hospitals, long-term care homes. So again, another industry that needs cash on a regular basis and very dependable cash, right? Because they're going to do payroll every 2 weeks. So those businesses are a little different from transport, because transport, we're funding invoices every day. These ones are a little bit more organized, right? Because they need to have timesheets for the week, send us their invoices, and we fund them in time for payroll and taxes. Another industry that we have quite a bit in is distribution. Distribution in food. So anything where you're importing a good and selling it to a retailer. That's taken a bit of a hit because retail since COVID has been a little challenging. So that's been a little slower than usual. But a lot of service industries, like really, we actually have some really interesting files coming up now, new files. We actually are working on a file right now where It's a company that provides audiovisual equipment for a company that puts on concerts and shows.
Oh, okay.
Music.
Okay.
So this potential client, we're just about to close it actually. Knock on wood, because you never count your
Yep.
but
Yep.
but
Yep.
so they provide all the audio visual, all the support. And it's a series of just local concerts in Quebec, like local singers,
Yeah.
but 8 to 10 shows. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
now the company that is putting on the production needs 30 or 60 days to pay
Yep.
because they need
Sure.
to get their cash and all that.
Yep.
So this is perfect. And it's really unique. It's different.
Sure.
So we can factor any B2B, business to business company as long as the service is complete or the goods have been delivered. So nothing with
Interesting.
progress billing.
Because I sent an estimate to a client. They wanted just a couple of days work out of me. And the fellow I'm dealing with was good enough to tell me, oh, by the way, it's a 60-day payment cycle here. He said, can you live with that? I went, holy jumping. And I appreciated that because now I know, and it's only 2 days of work, it looks like. You never know where it might go in the future, but at least he's telling me. When I worked for a trucking company, it was funny how different things worked in different divisions. The one division I was in, my VP would sit on every invoice and pay it exactly 90 days. Oh, yeah. And so when I got quotes in, people would say, hey, I said, price in 90 days. No, we quote 30. I said, no, I'm telling you, I don't want to hear your bitching, moaning, and complaining. I'm paying you in 90. And then I took a different job within that same company. And that division, I would get shit. If an invoice sat on my desk longer than 2 business days, I was in trouble.
Oh, wow.
Because in this division, we had a reputation of paying an invoice within 14 days, but often within 7. And we had people lined up out the door to work for us because we paid so quick.
Yeah.
And it was the same company, but 2 different vice presidents and
See
2
that?
different philosophies.
Yep.
Realistically, who can support 90 days without getting paid? So if you just imagine the payroll implications. So if you pay twice a month, that's 6 payroll periods that you have to find the money to pay.
Yep.
And a lot of suppliers, and now going into these economic times, we're seeing a lot of slowdown in payments all across the board. Good credit, bad credit. Everyone is they're just being very careful, very stingy with their payments. So a small company that maybe has a $20,000 overdraft, and that's what they're operating their company with. How quickly do you burn through that 20,000 before you realize, what am I going to do now? Whereas factoring, you have this receivable sitting there, you liquidate it. And the beauty of factoring, as I said, is that you sell an asset, so you never have to repay that debt. Debt is what really burdens businesses now. You can't buy a truck or a trailer outright. Well, you wouldn't. So, you pay your insurance monthly because, that's doable. So why would you put your receivables in the same situation? Factoring just removes that liability and it gives you that operating capital to now make sure you can pay your trucks and your insurance and your fuel.
And keep your credit rating number 1.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes. That's the big challenge. Yeah.
Because when I go to buy a truck or any piece of equipment or I need credit, you need to have a great credit rating in a factoring. So what I'm hearing is factoring can play an integral part in establishing my credit rating.
Yes, absolutely. Because now you're current really with all your obligations, or you should be. So we're talking about the company or the business owner that uses the cash properly, right? They take that money and they reinvest it. They make sure that their bills are all up to date. We have, like in the situation of a distribution company, imagine if you could get a discount from your supplier for paying
Mhm.
within 10 days. Well, now
Mhm.
you've almost got free factoring because that
Exactly.
discount has offset the factoring cost. So
Mm.
you have to do it properly. There are lots of people and lots of companies that don't use the cash flow properly, or they're already so far deep in debt that factoring can't help the best.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Tina, we're coming up
Yep.
we're coming to the end of this segment.
Yeah.
Is there something else that we need to know about either factoring or specifically JD Factors?
I would say more than anything, I think you just need to know who you're getting into business with. So in the day and age of you could Google anything, do your research on the company you're getting involved in, find out how long they've been around, what their reputation is out there, ask for references. In this market where you just want to be careful who's going to manage and control your cash. In JD Factors, we've been in business for more than 30 years. We really pride ourselves on having integrity, full transparency with our clients. We want the best for them. So that's always the goal. We want to be sure a successful client is always going to be a client that gives you a good review.
Sure.
And we really spend a lot of time doing that. So if you do have any factoring needs, the last thing I want to say is just call me at JD Factors. We'll take care of you.
And your
Good deal.
contact info is in the show notes down below, or you can simply Google JD Factors.
That's right.
That's pretty easy. Tina,
Cool.
thank you so much. Because I knew
Yes,
nothing
thank you.
about factoring.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, John. This is a great
Yeah.
discussion. So much fun being here with you both.
And I just want to remind our viewers and our listeners that something that I think is really important that you said is that JD Factors doesn't have a recourse. Did I say that right?
It's non-recourse. That's
Yeah.
right. No recourse.
Doesn't claw it back in saying it in my terms. It doesn't claw that payment back once you've sold that receivable, should the person not pay. So I think that's a huge bonus. Anyways, Tina, thank you so much.
I just wanted to add real quick, Chris. That's why it's so important people read the fine print of the partners that they get involved with. It's so important because you can't think just factoring's factoring. Everybody's doing it differently.
That's right. We're not all the same. Absolutely not.
Trucking ain't trucking. We're not all the same. And there's safety consultants out there too, Johnny.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Right.
Tina from JD Factors, thank you so much. It was great having you on the Trucking
Tina.
Risk and Insurance podcast.
Yes.
And that was Tina Capobianco from JD Factors. Thanks, Tina, for coming on the show. Leave us a like and a comment if you've got something out of this episode this week. And don't forget to subscribe to the Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast. Thank you all so much. See you next week.